Hey everybody, welcome into TexAgs Rewind presented by Yeti. I've been gone for a little bit. Happy to be back here in the saddle. Billy gave me a hard time for my shirt, but my friends at BV MMA, thank you very much because you guys are making me a trained killer. And on this show, we got straight to business, Luke Evangelist. What was your favorite part of the show?
Definitely Antonio Johnson.
Yep, we had Antonio Johnson on the show. Now, I will say this. I led him in a direction. He didn't take the bait as a professional wouldn't, I should say. He did mention having a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, but in my opinion, this dude should have been a second or first round pick. He goes in the fifth round, the Jags get a steal, and he says, yeah, I think about it, but I'm just trying to, once we're here, we are here. You want to listen to that interview. What was your second favorite part of the show?
Gotta be 23 and 23. Number 21, LT Overton.
That was great. As we mentioned several times throughout the show, he was just 17 for part of the season last year and was huge, taking on grown men. We broke him down. Fernando Palomo joined us on the show. He's an Aggie. He's a international broadcaster, ESPN, loves soccer, loves Aggie football. That was a great conversation. What else did we get into? We got into a lot of stuff. Olin was great. That's that and more here on TexAgs Rewind. So, first off, where did it all go wrong for Colorado?
For Colorado, you mean for the Pac-12?
Sorry, for the Pac-12, yes.
The day A&M put the kibosh on the merger with the Big 12. And remember, it was A&M, Texas, Oklahoma, and
to the Pac-12.
Right. They wanted 4 teams to go to the Pac-12.
Yep.
And you know what? That would have made it a super conference. Any conference with UCLA, USC, Washington, Oregon, Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, that's a big-time conference.
Heck yeah, it is.
But when A&M said, no, we're not going that, we're not doing that. And so that killed that.
Yep.
And then the Pac-12 has been slowly dwindling. It turns out the guy, Larry Scott, who's the commissioner, that tried to pull that off, it turned out he was really bad, and they had all kinds of problems in their front office and doing a lot of questionable things. And they brought in Utah and Colorado. Okay, that's fine. But those are, especially Utah, have been good programs, but those are not like, Grand Slam type of things.
Right.
And there's just not as much interest.
There's no interest.
UCLA hasn't been that good. USC had not been that good, and now they're starting to get a little bit better. But there's not the money to be made.
Losing the Los Angeles market does matter.
Oh, it's huge.
Losing the Denver market does matter. It matters.
To a lesser degree.
Right?
But yeah,
it matters. So you look at what the Pac-12 has now. Next year, they have 9 teams in the conference. That is it, right?
I'm sure they'll find somebody between now and then.
But whoever
Boise.
they find, does it move the needle at all? San Diego State ain't moving the needle.
No.
UNLV ain't moving the needle.
No, Boise's probably not going to move,
right.
Even though that's a better program than some of them in the Pac-12.
They haven't secured their television deal yet, right? Unless it's come out in the next
No, that's part of
right?
That's part of the problem.
I know they've talked to Apple and some other places, but they haven't secured that, right? You've got now Oregon probably thinking like, what are we going to do? We've got to do something.
Oh, well,
now.
Oregon and Washington, I mean, it's pretty well known. They're begging the Big Ten to offer them.
Right.
And if the Big Ten ever does that, then the Pac-12 might as well shut down, or just might as well merge with the Mountain West.
So they have failed to find any expansion partners in losses because what the Big 12 did was, and again, it's not as sexy, if you will, as Texas and Oklahoma, but they found somewhat attractive people to bring into the league. And Pac-12 has not done that somewhat to keep them afloat. They have no media deal, and they haven't had a chance to grow the conference, right? To stay alive. So if you do those things don't happen, and then you've got the Big 12, who is probably you've got the Big 10, you've got the SEC as the 2 top dogs, yeah. ACC a little bit under that, Big 12 under the ACC.
As long as
Clemson and Florida State stay
right. And just remember, Florida State talked very seriously about joining the Big 12 a few years ago. Now that was a Big 12 with Oklahoma and Texas, so they might. And the SEC once offered a membership.
Well, Florida State wants out. If it's going to happen soon, I think they have till August 12th is what I read, and that's probably not going to happen because there's no meeting that has been called as of right now. But the ACC is scrambling to add teams. And there's no Pac-12 teams that make sense for the ACC.
No. But I got to say, the most Big 12 thing ever is the Big 12 getting excited and bragging about bringing in a team in Colorado that has had one winning season in the last 17 years, was 1-11 last year.
Well,
to me, that's like stealing from a garage sale.
Feinbaum, I think it was yesterday, was saying, that the best bargaining chip that the Pac-12 had was Colorado because of Dion. That's how, I forgot how he phrased it, but that's what he alluded to.
Makes them, their curiosity,
right?
Interesting.
That is such a short-term thing because Dion is not going to stay at Colorado if they win.
It's true.
Right? So, to me, that's not, if that's your bargaining chip, then sorry. I understand it's a big market, but if they win, Dion is going elsewhere. And if they don't win, then does Colorado really matter? Because they haven't mattered in a while.
Well, I think what the Pac-12 is doing right now is they're going to say, all right, we're going to look around and see if we can bring anybody else in. But until then, Oregon, whatever you want, you tell us, you run the show, because we need that Phil Knight, Nike influence in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And again, if you was to lose Oregon and Washington, maybe just Oregon, you're dead in the water. And like I said, call the Mountain West and see if you can form something with those guys. Because really, the Big 12, even adding Colorado, what do they really have? I would take Oregon over any team.
Absolutely.
That's now in the. In fact, what I think the biggest asset the Big 12 has now, somebody tell me why I'm wrong, is BYU. And if I was Pac-12, I would be saying, come on, do you guys really want to stay in? They don't come back over on this side of the Rockies.
Well, by the way, the Big 12 is going to add one more team. They want to cap it at 14. They have 13. Who is that 14th team? Some people believe it will be UConn, although what I read was that the most of the Big 12 presidents don't want UConn for football reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And there's obviously the basketball reason why it all makes sense, but for the football reasons, it doesn't.
To me, it's obvious. If you pry another one away from the
Pac-12,
from the Pac, get Utah.
Mm-hmm.
You got BYU.
Utah would make a lot of sense. But I think that the best one of all is Oregon.
Yeah, I don't know if Oregon.
But Oregon's going to end up at the Big Ten, right?
Yeah, I think that's what they're hoping.
If Oregon ends up and who else would go? Washington. They end up in the Big Ten. Then the ACC, do they start to crumble because of what is happening? And because now the SEC is like.
What the ACC does is start giving Florida State whatever they want and Clemson. Okay, you guys. Because, see, what they've been complaining about so long is that North Carolina runs the ACC,
Yep.
and it was always the revenue distribution was so messed up, and Florida State and Clemson making all the money.
Right.
And so I could see the ACC doing whatever it takes to keep Florida State and Clemson happy.
But when you're ready to go, there's no coming back.
Yeah.
When you're ready to leave a job, not saying that we were trying to leave this job, but when you're ready to leave a job, it is very hard to go work at that job that you're ready to leave.
Irma's told me that 1,000,000 times. If I'm ready to go,
that's it. There's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do.
And Florida State's ready to go.
And so far, I've been still playing the Big 12.
Well,
just doing whatever it takes to hang on.
Come on, baby. Let's go to dinner. Where are you?
Whatever it takes to keep it together.
I'll give you the big piece of chicken. So, Florida State is ready to go. Now, maybe the timing isn't right now. They're trying to figure out, like a lady who's trying to get the divorce, trying to figure it out.
They're trying to figure out. Right now, Florida State is on TikTok. No. What is it, Tinder? I don't know. I don't do those things. Where you just go on.
Swipe?
Where you swipe. They're writing somebody's. Is it swipe right? Is that how it works? You young kids, help me out.
If I knew the answer to that, my wife would divorce me.
I'm trying to think. I bet you we've read about it. Anyway,
I can't
what
say
are
that.
They're out there trying to put themselves out there. Okay, who wants to date me?
Right.
Who wants to take me?
And the SEC is probably interested, but we don't have to be interested. We can just kind of play it out. We can kind of go as we want. We don't have to go fast, baby. We can take our time.
We can take our time.
Because you know what happens when you take your time? Things are on your terms.
On your terms.
Not somebody else's terms. But European soccer, for the most part, it's that same kind of pageantry that we see in college football, correct?
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, you can talk to Barcelona fans, Bayern Munich fans, Inter Milan fans. They'll say the same thing I'm telling you about Kyle Field. When they go to Giuseppe Meazza in Milan, the walk up to the stadium is different. You can't describe it. There's no words for that excitement. When your pace just all of a sudden, not even being late to a plane at an airport would make you walk that fast, right? When you're 2 hours prior to kickoff and you just want to get there, you just want to be in your seat, right? That's what passion brings to you. And that, you can translate. There's no other thing related or relatable to European soccer than college football is in the US, right? Because the level of passion is greater. And forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't see that in the professional game as much as I do in college football. You go to Athens, Georgia, especially in the SEC. You go to Baton Rouge, and you see that same environment that you feel at a European stadium.
How did you end up at Texas A&M?
Legacy, I guess. My oldest brother, Eduardo, is 13 years older than I am. So to his account, that'll make him 40, but he's not. But he went to school when I was 7, right? So when he was coming back, every time he had a chance to go back to El Salvador, which is where we're from, your older brother, you always see him as a superhero. As your dad is Superman. This guy is I don't know, next superhero down the hierarchy. So he came back and told me stories about A&M and the environment around college football, around football games, and so I just got hooked. I just thought, this is the place I want to go to. This is where I want to be. And then my brother Federico, the 6th down the line, I'm the 7th one, and he's 6 years older than I am. So he went to school when I was about to go to high school. You can imagine just trying to get, soak in all his storytelling and his experiences and trying to live college through his eyes. And again, there was no other place. I think that was the only school I ever applied to.
Well, then how about broadcasting? Because at the time, A&M wasn't known for broadcasters, but it's turned out some amazing ones. How did you end up going that route?
Just passion for the game and the fact that I can talk your day out. I just love talking about sports, and I got into calling games when I was in high school with my friends, and on the track team at A&M I would be calling races at practice, lining the athletes up in the starting line and then calling the race out during practice. I just love doing it, and I figured it would be a way to get closer to what I'm passionate about. It was an easy ticket into stadiums that I wanted to be at as a fan. I thought, right? It's not an easy ride, and don't get me wrong, it's not been an easy ride at all. But to me, I thought that's a perfect way for me to be close to the action that I want to be close to. Right? My first experience with sports and broadcasting, where I thought this is what I want to do, came in 1984 when I was listening to Al Michaels call the track and field meet at the Los Angeles Olympics on ABC, and I'm figuring this guy's got it made. He's got tickets to both morning and afternoon sessions at the Olympics, and he gets to talk about it. Nobody says, shut up, don't say anything, right? Because he owns the spectacle, he owns the event. So I figured that's what I want to do.
It is now time for Around Aggieland, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website, normandystatebank.com. It is, what is the new nickname? I'm sorry? Aggie Sports Girl?
Before, whenever
ASG?
Yeah, not never that, or just like in my sports management classes, if people know what TexAgs is, it's a nickname that has come up, and then Dalton has now took it and ran with it. Mm-hmm. So as people do at this office,
Aggie Sports Girl.
I'll
probably call you Kay,
but yeah, that works too.
I'm David, broadcast guy.
I wasn't.
No, let's not go there.
Yeah.
What's happening around Aggieland?
So we're approaching football season, which is always a good sign. David Nuno coming back finally. That means football season's
You guys
here,
realize
so.
I only took a few days off. I worked the entire week.
Me and you are overlap, because I was gone all the way before that, vacationing, and then you were gone, and so I'm like, this has been a minute since we've done this. Anyways, 36 days until kickoff. Super excited, and then. Just some TexAgs news specifically. We have our preseason kickoff going on this weekend. Right. That is for varsity and premium subscribers only. So if you got the ticket, it's definitely going to be a great event to check out. That will be tomorrow, and we're super excited to have some big guests along with us. And then some more football news. A&M will have their annual pool party this Saturday. We have a lot of big names for recruits coming into town. I know Bronny and Howell posted that list on the site, so make sure to go check that out. And then also follow along with our recruiting thread. There'll be a lot of good information and tidbits on there. Some basketball news. Buzz's Bunch. They will be hosting basketball will be hosting a charity softball game, putting the players versus coaches against each other, with all proceeds going to Buzz's Bunch. This is the first ever game. It will be at Davis Diamond on Friday, August 4th, slated for 6 p.m., and then you can get into the event with $5, or you can prepay visiting buzzesbunch.com. I know that's a great event going on.
Yep.
And it's Buzz's Bunch, for those who don't know, is a program with the primary objective of helping children with special needs come together socially while hoping to fall in love with the game of basketball. So
I love that.
I know. That's awesome. Buzz is just the most wholesome, awesome guy to contribute something like that. And then lastly, some men's golf news. The team finally released its fall slate, so they will face a challenging and diverse 5-tournament fall schedule by head coach that was released by Brian Corton. I'm just going to run through those real fast. First up, the Marquette Intercollegiate at the Erin Hills. That will take place in Wisconsin, starting them off. SEC match play will be next in Alabama. The Ben Hogan Collegiate Invitational, that will be in Fort Worth. The Golf Club of Georgia Collegiate in Georgia. And then finally, the fall slate will be capped off with the Furman Intercollegiate in South Carolina. So they had some great success last year, too. I know fall sports are coming up. So
yeah, they are.
It's a good time.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
LT Overton.
LT, my guy.
The way I kind of teed it up this morning, and I want you to do the bulk of the analysis, was if he was 17, right? He was. There's no if. He was 17 years old and was able to do what he did. Fast forward a year from now, the experience that he picked up.
Now, or a year from then?
From then
okay,
to where we are now.
Yeah.
Right?
I seriously asked that because I didn't know, because I think.
But even a year from now. Even both, right? Like, I mean, he's a year from now, he'll be 19 with his third year in SEC play.
Yeah, it hit me last year, and I believe I was sitting here I was probably with Anthony Lucas, where he said he was still, they just got done playing Arkansas, and he had said something about LT's birthday, something, and it came out that they were both 17 years old playing against Arkansas. And I heard you guys this morning talking about there's grown man strength. Arkansas had like all fourth and fifth year guys on their O-line. Mm-hmm. I think they returned like one of those guys, maybe two, but they had like all old dudes up front, including that all SEC center. They had, and there's such a massive difference in college football, period, but especially in this league. And then you take the fact that Lucas was so young, but Overton was 17 because he was supposed to be 17, because he was supposed to still be in high school. He is DJ Hicks's age. So it's rare that a guy can be that good, that he can come in and have any kind of impact. And LT had a positive impact, but could have any kind of impact when they should still be in high school. Crazy thing is I think Hicks could have done that as well. But for LT to come in and perform the way he did, again, should have been in high school. He should be just getting here. Mm-hmm. He's had not only a full year in the weight room now in an off season, but he's also had a year of real SEC experience. He's on the field a ton in Tuscaloosa against Bama, against that veteran O-line against Arkansas. It'll be his second time around against Miami when they play them this year. It'll be like all of these, everything on the field during a win over LSU where he's getting after Jaden Daniels. All of that experience is just invaluable. One thing I did not hear y'all talk about, one of my big concerns this year on the D-line, probably my only, because if you go across the group, you see experience, you see five-star talent across like almost a three deep, for God's sake. You see NFL-bound veterans like McKinley Jackson. You see guys that have the young guys with the potential. You see a large group, including Overton, that are going to make that always talked about year one to year two leap. But what I don't see a lot of yet is really anything proving off the edge in terms of a pass rush off the edge.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately I think of guys like Eni White and Malik Silla going into year 2. Malik looked good late. Eni really promising early, and then, was banged up through a large part of the season. Those two guys have to really rise up. I look at Martrell Harris, who's a linebacker, and say, what about how he got after the quarterback against Florida, LSU? Maybe he could be a situational guy. I look at like a true freshman like a Rylan Kennedy. We look at Fadil Diggs, who had 3 sacks against Bama and then, looked strong against South Carolina the next. But when I think of twitchy, edgy guys, Diggs, Silla, White, but the one guy people don't talk about, because when they signed him or when he was coming out of high school as a junior in high school and got here, LT Overton was pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at him and I thought, he's going to grow into be another one, and I don't have a problem with that. A&M needs him. They got one in Shamar Turner, who's more inside but can play out. You got one in Shamar Stewart, who's a big, strong, physical end. And I thought Overton was going to grow into that type of guy too. DJ Hicks is the same way. But I thought Overton might grow into even to be a true inside guy.
Right.
I'm sitting there wondering, is he going to look like a little shorter version of like a Jaden Peavy? And then I see him this summer, and this is what I'm getting to, because it was an eye opener. And he walked up. I said, he doesn't look like the same dude.
Mm-hmm.
And normally when you say that, like, you think of a guy just adding size,
a little more yoked up. Yeah.
Matabike going from 245 on his visit and leaving at 305. I saw LT Overton, and he looked like an edge guy. And he looked like a true edge. And I asked him, I said, man, how you've been getting after it? And he said he was like 255. And I said, what were you at your peak last year? He said like 283. So, which is what Shamar Stewart is now. And Shamar looks like the number 1 draft pick when he's walking around. But LT, I think, fell back into his comfort zone in terms of like what he's most comfortable playing at. He looks terrific. Tall, long arms. He looks like an edge rusher now. He was a really good basketball player in high school. He looks more like a basketball player than he did when he got here, when to me he looked like a guy that was on the verge of, I'm saying 280 now. He'll be 300 in a year. He went the other way. You don't see that a lot, and it's not in a bad way. He looks great. And I think you have to factor him in when you're thinking about that edge guy. And they've even mentioned, the potential of him playing some standing up. And somebody's going to have to do that in this Durkin defense. And you saw Silla do it. Eni can do it. And they started practicing Eni at times last fall as a stand-up backer in camp. Like a true line. He was working with the linebackers. So that type flexibility, I think LT Overton is on my short list of guys that, like, when we're sitting there talking about year 1 to year 2, and the first names you think of are like Evan Stewart. You think of Walter Nolan because of the hype and because of what he flashed last year. And he looks good too. I thought he lost too much weight coming in. And now is filled back out again to look good, looks real good. But you start thinking about, and we keep talking about Bryce Anderson. Noah Thomas is generating all kinds of deserved buzz. But the guys that I don't think people talk about, Connor Wigman, they talk about all the time, but that I don't think talk about enough, and it's a group like Shamar Stewart, like Le'Veon Moss, Jacoby Matthews, Jake Johnson, those guys that we saw in glimpses. I leave Dindy off because he really didn't play very little. To me, he's almost like a newcomer. Like at the D-line, I go, they're going to be adding DJ Hicks and
Dindy.
Gabe Brownlow Dindy. But Overton is on that list of those handful of dudes that I think like could stand to make they're poised to make a massive jump from year 1 to year 2. And
all right, let's close out this TexAgs Rewind, Luke. Do me a favor. Is the Pac-12 going to survive?
Nope.
Okay, and tell the people what to do.
You want to be unlike the Pac-12 and thrive. Don't just try and survive. You want to thrive by subscribing to TexAgs, following, liking this video, sharing, telling all your friends about it, and go thrive today.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.